I'm going to go ahead and kick us off. Welcome to our first webinar in our CRM Card Deep Dive series. I'm Melissa Erickson, Head of Solution Consulting in North America, and we are Engaging.io. We are an elite HubSpot partner, and we've been focused on CRM implementations for the past 15 years, and then focused on HubSpot specifically for the last 7 years. I'm pleased today to host today's webinar. We are doing Introduction to CRM Cards, and we have Erin Wiggers, Director of Technical Strategy and Innovation with us. At the end, we will give a little time for questions. So if you want to pop any questions in, feel free. There is an option on the bottom right-hand side where you can go to QA. It has 3 shapes in there. You can see activities, and then you can add any questions. Also, you can use the chat, either work, and we'll give you a little time to go through those at the end. For now, though, I'm going to let Erin take it away.
Thanks for being here, everyone. Like Melissa said, I'm Erin Wiggers. I am the Director of Technical Strategy and Innovation here at Engaging.io. I've been in the HubSpot ecosystem for longer than I care to admit. I started out as a front-end developer and have worked my way up to now a full-stack solutions engineer. I also still do a lot of development because it's my favorite thing to do. Please hit me up on LinkedIn. Would love to connect with anyone if I'm not connected with you already. And I tend to share things like this and other HubSpot tips and things like that. So would love to connect after this. So today's objectives, we're going to start out kind of with the super basics here. And as we said, there's going to be 4 different sessions as part of this series. So this is really just kind of laying the groundwork of what we're going to be talking about throughout. And we will explore some native card types so that you can get the most kind of bang for your buck without any code. In the second session, we will do some of my favorite cards. Like we'll look at some of the just way underutilized cards, in my opinion, and some of my favorites to add. So please join us again for that. And let's dive in here. So what are CRM cards? So these are going to be the blocks within the CRM record. So if you're looking at a specific contact or a specific deal, all of the parts of the UI that you're seeing are CRM cards. The left and right sidebar and the middle column. These are available in all plans. You do have to have permission to customize the record page layout. So if you, for some reason, can't get this done, talk to your super admin, make sure they can add that permission for you. And also, if you're a super admin, you should have no trouble. There are 2 different types of CRM cards. There's native, which is what we'll be talking about today and then next week. We'll also get into some of the custom stuff, but native cards include things like information, activities, association, all stuff you can configure with no code directly within HubSpot. And in session 3, so another sneak peek here, we're going to talk about how to build your own custom CRM cards, and we'll even walk through how to do that with AI. And it does take a little bit of developer knowledge. So if you don't recognize some of these terms like CLI, which is command line interface, we will cover all of that and make sure that you're comfortable building these on your own. The main use case for CRM cards is you want to be able to display the right information to the right people in a way that is functional for them. I think this is really going to be key to adoption of the platform within your organization, because people are easily overwhelmed and trying to use a new system. If they're looking at information that they don't necessarily need, they're having to make multiple clicks to find what they need to be able to do their job. There's going to be friction there. And so CRM cards give us a way to power teams with actionable information from the CRM. And we're going to do just a quick little sneak peek demo at a deal record that I set up with some custom cards. The idea is you are a sales rep for Apex Arena Technologies. So I'm going to show you kind of the cards that I would use to empower the team that way. So we've got deal stage tracker, scores, data highlights. I really love this one as a way to either count up to something. This is counting up to a go live time, or you can count down to something. Like if something is going to be not ideal, you can actually use a red color instead of this green color. So lots of ways to customize. We've also got these quick actions, which I think are great. Some more basic stuff, enroll in a workflow. And these are some of the coolest ones. We'll definitely get into these next week, but being able to actually show reports within your CRM card, and then property history, which is one that I feel like comes up a lot with my clients. So again, all of this is done with no code. It gives you the ability to come in here and edit things. So super functional and relevant to the job of sales rep for this technology company. So hopefully this kind of gets your wheels turning about what's possible here, how some of these things could really enhance your team's day-to-day kind of process that they go through. And so let's get into some examples. And again, these are going to be super basic, but they still are going to enhance anything that you have set up. Information cards. You can display up to 4 called featured properties, which featured just meaning like static. So I would use this for properties that are calculated automatically. So something that the user is not expecting to edit. It's like, when is the next meeting, or what is the potential revenue, things like that. The alternative there is you can display up to 24 editable properties. So if your rep is in there and they're supposed to be on calls and filling in information as they go, this is a super easy way to make sure they know what properties need to be filled in at what stage, and they're able to quickly go in and edit those. You can do that for either the current card that you're on. So if you're on a deal record, you'd be able to edit the deal, but you can also edit associated object properties, which I think is super helpful. So if you're looking at a deal and you need to be able to edit things about the company or things about the contact that that you're speaking to, all of that could be done without having to actually click to that other object. So super helpful, especially for teams that are gathering information and not just acting on it. And then activity cards. So you can show recent activity and you can select which types of activities you want to see. So if you're not using calls or tasks very much, you can just see what's relevant to you. And then you're also able to see activity totals. So if your kind of manager wants to go in and see how many calls you've made, how many emails you've sent out, all of that can be done really easily. And then association cards, some of my favorites, because I love being able to connect the data in different ways. So having different association labels that you can kind of drill down into in a kind of per card basis. And then association tables that are searchable, sortable, and filterable is super, super helpful, especially if it's something that has a lot of different associated objects. That just gives you a way to see everything all in one place and be able to kind of interact with it enough that it's easy to navigate. Now we're going to get into a demo of like how do you do this? Where does the button to push live? Let's jump back into our demo, and it's going to be super easy. It's this customize button right up here, and this appears on any reco. If we go to a different contact, it's always going to be kind of in this top right of the middle pane. Let's jump into this. So once you click that button, it's going to take you to this list of views. So there's a default view. I would recommend always creating separate views for separate teams. And I say this because kind of going back to what we talked about earlier, where people get overwhelmed if there's a lot of extraneous information that they're having to sift through. So it's just much more adoptable as a platform if what they need is directly in front of them and they're not having to like go look for it. So I would have a default view, but you're going to want to really encourage your teams to use different ones. You can also get to this screen by going to settings and then down to whichever object you want. So we can go back to deals and then record customization. So 2 ways to get there. So let's take a look at the sales team view, which is what we've been looking at in our demo. So we've got 3 kind of different panels here that we can make edits to. The left-hand side is primarily just properties. So you're going to want to display most important properties over here on the left. The middle pane is by far the most flexible. That's where most card types live. And then there's also the right-hand panel, which has your typical association type cards. But you can also enroll in a workflow from here. So I think that's super handy, and it came out pretty recently. So definitely want to put that on your radar if it's something that you need to be able to quickly push a button and do something. So in this example, you can fire off a workflow that enriches the company information. So just kind of ideas about actionable things you can put in the cards. But today I want to mostly talk about this middle pane here, because like we said, there's a lot of different things that you can do. So if I click add card, so here's your create card. This is going to show all of the different types that you can use. So we've got activities and activity totals, like we talked about, association lists and association properties, data highlights, property trackers, and lists. So this is kind of all of the stuff that you have access to do. And once you get into the card, you'll give it a title. The title is what actually shows up in the card itself. So if it's activities for this particular deal by rep or something like that, you could do that. Make sure that it's super clear what the information is, and then quickly choose activities. So maybe calls and meetings are mostly for the sales team, and then tasks and LinkedIn messages are more for your services team. You can get really specific with what information shows, and then giving the time period as well. So if you only want to see what's been done in the last week, you can definitely do that. If you want to see what's been done in a custom date range, you can also do that. So a lot of firepower kind of built into the system here, which is really cool. You can also preview it really quickly. So if we choose, I think I've got some emails and a meeting. So you can quickly see like what that's going to look like, adjust your settings here. So super flexible. Yeah. You can also add these separate tabs. So one thing that you're going to want to avoid is having all of your cards in one overview tab so that your users having to like scroll and find things. We can make it even more simple by creating a new tab and then adding cards here. Putting the right information in the right places so that users know how to navigate. It's just too easy to customize these records to make it easy for people to not do that. So very much encourage anyone who's setting up processes and trying to figure out like how are we going to use the CRM to keep these in mind, that you're building out things that are, again, functional for your team. The other pieces here, I think we've gone over most of them. Like I said, we'll get into more of the like super fancy cards in the next webinar in this series. So stick around for that. We'll definitely configure, some of these reports and stuff, which I think are super powerful. But from any record, you can click customize, either create a team view or edit the default. In the middle pane, it'll give you all those card options, and you can just create a card from there. Best practices here, always map your processes first. have a really good understanding of what needs to happen within the CRM to keep things moving at the pace you want them to move at. Being able to understand what information the rep needs versus what information the services team needs is going to be super important. And then you're going to set up by object type and team. So for each object, you might have multiple team views, but you can do them kind of individually that way. And the whole point here is to show the right data and not all the data. It's really tempting because HubSpot has all the things, and sometimes you want to give people the ability to see into everything. And I would just caution you to maybe use the default view for that, and then have your teams actually use the views that are most relevant to them, because it's just a less friction in the process. Awesome. So we made it to questions. Do we have any in the chat or anything, Melissa? I can't see.
Yeah, thanks, Erin. I love how they switched everything up on you. We were just looking at this, and one of the things you gotta love about HubSpot, right? They're always changing things and making improvements, which is great. But one quick question for you. I don't think we covered it. We talked about permissions, but we didn't talk about access levels. So for people that might be on different levels of professional or enterprise, is there any restrictions to CRM cards for that perspective?
No. So they are available across all subscription levels, and each card is available across all subscription levels. There may be some differences to what you can do with the reports and some of the information like within the cards you may not have access to depending on your subscription, but the cards themselves and this ability to set them up is kind of global across HubSpot.
Anyone can set these up as long as they have the right permissions to do so.
Yes, and you'll need permission to edit the record page layout. I know permissions in HubSpot can be a little overwhelming to kind of navigate through, so that's the specific one that you need in order to do this.
Well, that's the only question that I had. So I think we'll wrap up for today right within our 20 minutes, just like we like. If you want to go to the next slide, Erin, we'll just talk quickly about the next session. So Erin alluded to, this is a series. So we're going to be doing a session every 3 weeks. So join us for our next one, which is in 3 weeks. And we're going to be talking about the native gem. So like Erin said, we're going to take it just a little bit further on some of the native out of the box cards that you can use. So that one will be on July 16th at 12 Eastern. And we can't wait to see you there. If you're already registered, you're good to go. We'll send you the reminder. You're all set for the whole series. If you are not registered, then of course you'll want to get registered so you can receive the rest of them. Otherwise, anyone registered will also get the recording post this event. So you can look forward to that as well in case you want to circle back to some of these specific things that Erin showed.
Appreciate y'all and hope to see you at the next one.
Oh, we'll see you soon.